I love to create art boxes. That's exactly what I did with today's project. What I do for the base is I stamp them, I paint them, and get them half ready for my creative projects. That way, when inspiration strikes, I can go to my creative stash, grab out just my box base, and transform it into whatever I dream of. For the base of my dream box, I am repurposing a box that I had stamped for a photo shoot that I did for Cool to Cast. So here's a picture of what this box looked like for my photo shoot. It originally was designed to actually, this lid would slip off, but it's totally painted shut now. So I had tucked it away in my craft stash, and I knew at some point I would do something with it. So I'm totally into repurposing and using up some of the pre-decorated boxes that I have in my craft studio. So that's the history of this box. Now I'm going to turn it into a dream box. What I did is I base coated it, and I used several different rubber stamps to decorate all around the box. I painted the back black because I want to stencil some lettering on it, and so rather than have it as busy as the sides, I went ahead and painted the back black. What I want to do is stencil my word onto the box. So I am using my Tulip multi-surface stencils, and they are sticky on the back, so they are self-adhesive. I'm going to turn this towards me so that I can be sure that I get this nice and somewhat straight. Actually, I'm not going to put these letters on completely straight. I want them to dance around just a little bit. Use your fingers to make sure that it's down securely, so when it comes time to stencil, that you get a really crisp image. This little R I'm wrestling with here. Get down. There you go. Hopefully I've measured this right, and all of these letters are going to fit. I hate that when that happens. When you get to the end and you don't have enough room for your last letter. Okay, so here's what I have to do. I need to cut a little bit off the top here so it doesn't overlap that A too much. This is going to fit. I'm determined. Going to take just a snip off the bottom. Okay. I think we have it. Hard to see it. So I'm going to take my black acrylic paint and a cosmetic sponge. When you are stenciling, be sure that you have a piece of wax paper or another piece of paper to the side of your palette, or in my case this little plastic container, so that you can dab straight up and down. I am loading, just like when you load a brush, I am loading this cosmetic sponge, and I want to take as much excess gooey paint off but still have enough that it's going to stencil cleanly. Because this stencil doesn't have a whole lot of room around the outside edge, you're going to have to be careful when you put that paint down that you don't overpaint the stencil. Let's see if I can do that. I'm going to have my wet wipe ready just in case I over stencil. I could also take blue masking tape and put it to the side of all of these stencils so I don't have to worry so much about it. Am I going to over stamp outside the lettering? Also remember, when you stencil, you don't have to fill in every single space of your surface with paint. Depending on how you place your paint, you can actually give a lot more dimension effect to your letters if you don't fill them in solidly. Now I can see that my E and my R are overlapping just a little bit, so what I'm going to do is make sure I have these painted the way I want, and I'm going to pull them off. And I like to have a piece of shrink plastic close by so that I can put these sticky back stencils back on to that piece of plastic so that I can preserve the stickiness for the next time. See, there's where that was overlapping there, and I want to make sure that I get the full E. Loading up my sponge again. I keep lifting it up because I'm having a hard time seeing exactly where the edge is of the stencil, so I want the light to pick up the edge of that stencil so I can clearly see, so that I can see what I'm doing. This is so cool. I love my dream box is coming to life. Love it. So there you can see I have Dream. And what I want to do is set this aside to dry while I'm working on the feet for my box. I shared this technique in the show where, oh, it was the Blooms and Birds show where I was making my funky feet for my art boxes. These are just floor tiles. Let me get some of this paint off my hand. These are floor tiles that you actually purchase at a home improvement store, and they usually come 12 by 12 and they're on a mesh. What's left on here when you pull them off that mesh are it's the glue. It's like a spacer glue, and it's really hard to get off. So my sister Candace sells these at her mosaic studio, and so I just leave them on for my funky little feet for my art boxes, and just let those little pieces hang out there. So decide how tall you want your box to stand off your tabletop, and you might want to put 6 or so glued together. Then I like to put a flat back marble, which will end up actually being the bottom of the box. So I'm going to glue all these together stacked, and this flat back marble is going to be the very bottom. So grab your glue, you will find as the glue is drying that these little tiles can slip around a little bit, so be sure you go back and double check to make sure that they're lined up as they continue to dry. So again, I would add maybe 3 more to do a stack of 6 or so, and let them dry overnight. Line them back up, set them aside, and let them dry. Here are the funky feet on the bottom of my dream box. And as I just mentioned, I've stacked 6 together with the flat backed marble on the bottom so that my box can stand, and it adds, I don't know, just some more fun color and texture and design and playfulness. The next thing I want to do is I stepped into my bling box, and I want to add a little bit of bling in the corner. And I have the metal embellishments, and what I want to do on this is paint it black, and then I'll sand it back just a little bit. It would be cool to patina these also. You could use all sorts of different colors. I just use my sponge to paint, let that first coat dry, and come back with a second coat until your embellishments are completely coated with the paint. So let that dry, and then we're going to come back and sand. The paint on my leaves is now dry. So the next step is to just lightly sand it. I think that just adds some intrigue to these pieces. So you can pull back as much or as little of that black paint as you'd like to. And I need to decide where I'm putting my bling. I want everything right in the corner here, so let's see where this is going to actually touch the surface so I can be sure that it holds nicely. This is an instant jewelry and metal glue, so this should hold pretty quickly. You can see that it's going to touch there and right in here. I do want to move this one up just a little bit. I want this to set undisturbed, so that everything will hold right in place. That glue's already starting to hold. What I was trying to do is move it so I'm not blocking too much of that D. So let this dry completely. While my bling is drying on my dream box, I wanted to show you what I did for the top embellishment. These are plaster pieces that I actually found at the dollar store, and they are so cool. But I wanted to continue to pick up the theme of black in my design, and so let me grab another cosmetic sponge here. So what I do is dab it in, my trusty cosmetic sponge, into the black, and I just start over coloring this piece, but still letting some of that tan show through down in the crevices. And then what you will have when you're finished is a piece that looks like this. So this is what I am going to be gluing on to the top of my dream box. We're almost finished with our dream box. The next step would be to actually glue this on the top of your box. And of course I need to set that upright to do it. So I'm going to show you the finished example in all of its glory. And what I also want to show you is what I did to the back. Because I have Dream on the front, but it's always good to throw in a bit of joy. So I have a piece of Cool to Cast that I have colored up and added gloss. I've stenciled on Joy, and so I can take a look at several different sides of my box to enjoy joy and to remember to dream. Follow my dreams. What I want to encourage you to do is to create your own dream box, and our Cool to Craft Creative Play Muse, Candace J, would love, love, love to see photos of your dream box, and she will share them at cooltocraft.com. So send your dream box photos to Candace at cooltocraft.com.